Hello, everyone. How's it going?
Are you asking
Me,
me, or are you asking
I'm asking the world. They can answer back. It's very
you're
easy
asking the
for
world
you.
how it's going? Leave
Yeah.
put in the comments below or to the side. Can you leave comments on? Wait 1 second. I was gonna do something cool there, but I only just thought of what I was gonna do whilst I was saying it. But it's fine because in just a second I'll say what I was gonna say. Uh, can
hmm
you put comments on anchor.fm, on breaker.audio, on google.com/podcast, on overcast.fm, on pca.st, on radiopublic.com, or on open.spotify.com, Jamie? Because that's all the platforms we're on.
Probably.
Do you think so? I don't know. Can you leave comments on those things? Maybe.
Some of them.
If you can leave a comment, leave a comment. Otherwise, go
Oh,
over
yeah.
to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/golden talkies. I don't think that's our URL, but
Nope.
but still, go over there, leave a comment, and
Yeah.
tell us how you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
This is Golden Talkies.
This
If
is
you
Golden
somehow
Talkies.
clicked on this by mistake, which I assume is where most of our listenership comes from.
I think so. Do you know how many plays we had last time?
86, was it not?
9.
9.
On
Wow.
on a single episode, we had 9. On That's on the
Incredible.
podcast. Should I look on the YouTube?
I think half of those were me.
we
Uh,
had
why
one
not?
view. We had one view on YouTube and 9 on various other platforms. That's 10 views last week. Oh boy,
Wow.
is this
Boy,
podcast
oh boy.
growing or what?
It's a 1,000% increase on some other episodes.
Probably, yeah.
Anyway,
Oh, do you want to explain
what do we
the?
do here, Duncan?
Oh shit, you're getting me today. We watch films
Ah,
that came out
uh,
50 years ago today slash this week. Um,
yeah,
Today, the film we're watching today actually came out today, date of
50
recording,
years ago.
yesterday, day of release. The 12th of September 1970. What film came out?
Yep, 5 easy pieces,
Five Easy Pieces.
named after the Mendelssohn set. I
Indeed,
think.
it's a spin-off of the book Five Easy Pieces.
Yes,
Hit piano
uh,
book.
fantastic.
Quite a good name.
Yeah,
Um,
it's all right as names go.
I'm not sure.
Uh,
I'm not sure it quite. I feel like it would be nice if they'd somehow incorporated number 5 into the film, but as names go, pretty
yeah.
good.
Actually,
Um,
no, I'm going to bounce back. I don't think that is that great a name. I'd say I feel there's a better name for that film out there in the world.
what?
I feel it really
Or
relates to the content that much thematically. I'd say music is more of a motif within the film.
Yeah, well, I
I
think
like,
that's the point, isn't
like
it?
yeah,
The
I don't know.
title, the background. Shall we
I'm sure you could
do?
call it something
Shall we
else.
do historical context,
Yeah,
and
if you
then
wanna.
we'll jump into the film? So yeah, as we said,
Mm-hmm.
the film this week is Five Easy Pieces. Came out on 12th September 1970. And
Ooh.
normally, if you're a new listener, I do some historical context beforehand. Uh,
Mm.
so, do you want to guess what? Um, oh fuck, what's the word? What aircraft event took place today?
I couldn't care less.
Um, the first Concorde landed at Heathrow.
Wow.
Do you want to guess what space event happened today?
1970. Third moon mission.
The Soviet Luna 16 launched, which was the first robotic probe to bring back soil from the moon.
Very
So that's
cool.
pretty cool. That launched today.
Mm.
I wonder if we'll find out when it lands. Who knows? Um, the film that we were watching this week, I think this is only the second time it's happened, was on takemeback.to, the website that I use, who've still not
Oh yeah.
sponsored us, despite us. I mean, how many times that we've shouted out? Like 16?
Many, many.
Many times. So they've still not sponsored us, but I do use them. And the film Five Easy Pieces was on takemeback.to as a film that was out currently. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a big deal. It got nominated for a bunch of Oscars as
Four
well.
Academy Awards and 5 Golden Globes it got nominated for.
Yeah.
There was nothing new in the charts, and Time Magazine. Can you guess who was on the cover of Time Magazine?
Rick Nixon.
No,
Ford. I mean.
it was
Oh.
Elliot Gould from our very
Ah,
first
that's
ever
nice.
film.
What
I
was it
didn't.
for? Presumably not getting straight.
I just realised you were going to ask me that, and I don't actually know. I
Wow.
I can't. Don't, I guess they were interviewing him. There was also an article about women marching for women's rights. Can you guess what their slogan was?
Some stupid pun.
Don't iron while the strike is hot.
Hey, I like that.
I thought that was really good, actually. Yeah, that was good. Anyway, that's my historical context. I hope you enjoyed that.
Yep, I did.
There's a bit of dead air there. You alright, bud?
Yeah, yeah. I like doing dead air. I think it's funny.
I think
Radio doesn't believe
it's
me.
what they say, isn't it? They say if you're doing a podcast or a radio show or anything like that, you should have dead air in it, right? That's what they say.
Yeah,
I think that's
exactly. That's
how the
exactly
saying
what you
goes.
say.
I think the saying goes, if you have a show, have dead air.
Hmm.
That's the saying, I think.
How you max your value for money?
Exactly. Okay,
Anyway,
cool. Yeah, that was
filming
good.
question.
uh, um, plot. Tell us the plot,
Yeah.
Jamie.
Well, okay. So this film stars Jack Nicholson
It
in
does.
an early role. He was famous for Easy Rider, but this is another thing that he did. He
Is
stars.
he a main character in Easy Rider?
Yes, I think he's the main character in that, and then there's one
Oh.
film before that where he got some recognition as a side character.
I've seen Easy Rider, but I really can't remember much
I
from
remember
it.
getting confused with another one.
No, he could have been. He could have been for sure. Uh, Easy Rider cast. I mean, he was definitely in it, but I can't remember if he was the main
Yeah.
guy. Peter Fonda, and Dennis Hopper, I think, were the two main guys. But oh no,
Oh,
Jack Nicholson is in it. I've seen it. Yeah. So Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper are the main guys, but Jack Nicholson has quite a big part in it. He's in it for a fair
okay.
bit.
So yeah,
Yeah,
he's memorable in the film.
he is. Karen Black is also in Easy Rider, and she's in this film that we're watching. Do you
Oh, is
know
she the waitress, presumably?
in Easy Rider? Oh, in this film
Um,
she's a waitress. In Easy Rider, I can't remember who
yeah.
she plays. Do you know the other connection to Easy Rider?
Same director, maybe, or something? Writer?
Ish. The guy that directed this was a producer in Easy Rider. I think it was
Okay.
his company that produced it. He's not credited as like the producer, but he was involved in it. So yeah, there's a link there. It's quite heavily linked to
That's
Easy
fair.
Rider, which
Yeah.
we should probably talk about more, but I can't really remember it, and you've not seen it. So
Yes.
despite it being
Wow. How dare
incredibly,
you? How dare you just assume I haven't seen it?
I think you started saying it earlier, and then I just picked up on it. It's obviously a very relevant film to this time period, very iconic.
Yes.
I've got a book about this time period which I've not read. That's called Easy Rider to Raging Bull, and it's all about like all these films that inspired each other and created this movement. But I've only read
Hmm.
the first bit of it, and it was a while
It's
ago.
like
So
pre-New Hollywood stuff, as it
yeah,
were.
I guess, or maybe it goes into New Hollywood. But anyway, regardless, um, yeah, Easy Rider, very iconic, and this film is linked to it in a
Yeah.
couple ways. So that's cool.
Totally. So yeah, Jack Nicholas is Bobby
Jack
DT.
Nicholson,
Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson.
Jack
Uh,
Nicholas Cageson.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's an oil rig worker.
Yep.
He does the working class stuff. He does his oil rigging, and then he goes home,
Yep.
and he has his girlfriend, who's a waitress, and her name is Rayette or something.
Yeah, Ray.
Ray. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So he goes
so
home and he treats her very well.
very nicely.
Yep.
They're clearly a lovely couple.
Lovely
If
couple.
there's
They
any
both love
underlying
each other
tension.
very much. There's no
Yeah.
issues or anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you like, there's sort of different varieties of Jack Nicholson performance. If you like Jack Nicholson with barely repressed rage, this is a good film.
Yes.
It's very similar to The Shining in a way.
It is. It's kind of like
Does it remind me of most?
it doesn't get as extreme as The Shining, but it's definitely got the
Yeah.
same character bits.
Yeah. So he and his girlfriend go bowling with
Yeah.
his friends. I can't remember what they're called.
Elton,
Stoney?
and I want to say Betty.
I thought it was Stony, wasn't it? Somebody.
Stoney. There's someone called Betty in it, but yeah, maybe it's Stoney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They go bowling, and Jack Nicholson's pretty good at it, but his girlfriend's really shit, and he's not hiding the fact that it really deeply frustrates him
Yeah.
in a very personal way. He can't handle the fact that she's not good.
Yeah.
Despite that she's trying her best, she's just trying to have a nice time, and then she gets a strike at the end of the game, and he's like, "Ah, fucking typical," because we've already lost. Bullshit.
Yeah.
And then she has some self-respect and says, "I'm not going to let you talk to me that way. I'm waiting outside."
Yeah.
And he has a chat with two nice ladies who mistake him for a guy on the TV,
And
and
they flirt
like
with him very aggressively.
yes, and he pretends that he is that guy.
Yeah.
So he can canoodle with them at a later date.
Because Jack Nicholson is such a nice character in this film.
Yes, he's clearly annoyed that they've gotten confused with someone else, but he's still not letting that stop him from getting in there.
Yeah, he plays along.
Yeah, and then goes outside and he talks to his girlfriend in the car, and his girlfriend says, "You treat me like shit. This is horrible. What are people going to think when they just see you flirting with other people when I'm around you?" And Jack Nicholson says, "I'm sorry." And
Says,
then
I'm
they make
sorry. He says that he may be an awful guy, but that just makes her better because she puts up with him, and everyone's going to think she's great because she puts up with him, even though he's awful.
yeah,
Yeah, he's clearly
definitely what happens.
just saying what she wants to hear.
Hmm. Uh,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Then I think we go to basically this entire first part of the film is about setting up Jack Nicholson's life as an oil rig worker in California. It's a life that we see he's quite frustrated by.
Yeah.
We don't quite understand why at this point. But so he acts out in little ways. He doesn't seem to get along with many of the other people at work. He just kind of wishes he didn't have to go there the next morning. There's a sequence where he's gets stuck in traffic, and then he just sort of goes slightly insane. He starts barking at the dogs. And then we see him step up on a truck which has a piano on it, and he starts playing the piano remarkably well.
Oh,
Uh,
that's interesting, isn't it?
yes, and then his pal's like, "Haha, that's really funny, man. Do you want to get back in the car before the truck
Yeah.
drives?" And then he just keeps on playing as the truck takes a left turn away from the road, and he's not seen again until that evening.
Yeah, which is pretty funny.
It is quite funny.
Yeah.
What else happens? Yeah, there's a poker game with the workers. He shouts to the boss man. He visits his friends, and they have a baby. And they're like, wink, wink. You should think about getting one of those, baby.
One of those
Baby.
babies, baby.
And he says, haha, yeah. And that's kind of the end of that.
Yeah.
And it's very clear he doesn't want a baby, which will be quite relevant. So one day he's at the oil rig place, and his friend Elton tells him that his girlfriend's pregnant, and she hasn't told him.
Yeah.
I can imagine because he's really quite shit and clearly is not going to be a father material.
I think it probably is because he's quite shit.
Yes,
If I had to
that's
guess.
probably the reason. And then Jack says something very interesting where he accuses Elton, where he says that Elton shouldn't be criticizing him because he's just a sort of layabout fucking. Can't remember the exact word. He's like a trailer trash asshole.
Yeah, he definitely says something about living in a trailer park. Yeah.
Yes, it's a bit of classist abuse, which is interesting.
Classics.
Surely
Because I
they're
thought
both
that
working
he
class.
was the same class as him.
Yes, that's what we are led to believe. How mysterious.
It is very mysterious. I wonder if that's going to come back later.
Yes. So Jack sort of decides to quit his job, and the bossman's like, "I don't care. Just go away. You don't do
Yep.
anything around here anyway."
Yep.
And then Elton gets arrested all of a sudden. And
Yeah.
he's like, "Could you tell my wife that I'm getting arrested?" Bye.
Yeah.
And that's the we see of him in the entire film.
It's a bit of a
He's just gone.
yeah. It kind of is. Yeah, it's a good way of getting rid of a character. I think he says that he robbed
Yeah.
somewhere, or he's accused of robbing somewhere like a year ago, and then he just decided to
Randomly
skip
caught
bail
up with them.
because why not? And then they
Yeah.
finally
I
got him.
suppose, I suppose that last scene is quite nice in that it does. Whilst Bobby was yelling at him, and they were yelling at each other just a few seconds ago about whether or not he was trailer trash. It still shows in that scene that he quite likes him because
Yeah,
Bobby's about to get arrested. He's like, no, he hasn't done anything wrong. Just take me instead.
yeah,
And he tells tell my wife what's going on.
yeah.
So after this revelations, Bobby's going to be a daddy. We cut to him visiting what we find out is his sister. Oh yeah, yeah. But after these revelations, we see Bobby visit his sister, and we're like, hey, isn't this interesting? And his sister's a piano player, and she's quite good, but she keeps singing along to the lyrics, so no one there likes her.
We're back. I wonder what happened there.
Eh.
Lol, Jimmy's going to keep going about the plot now.
Yep, gotta keep banging on. Okay, so sister says that their dad's sick.
Yeah,
That he's had 2 strokes, and Robert should probably come visit him
which is
sometime.
2 more than you would want to have.
Yes, exactly. It's a
would say.
non-ideal number of strokes.
The ideal number of strokes is 0.
Yes,
1
or -1.
or -1. If you could take a stroke from or give someone else a stroke, then I guess
Yes,
that
yes,
puts
no.
you negative numbers. But yeah, you don't want to have two anyway. And this film proves that because the dad is really not there much.
Yes, the big theme of this film is
Yeah.
that you shouldn't have a stroke if you can avoid it.
Yeah, and certainly you should not have two strokes.
Yes,
If you must
exactly.
have a stroke, fine.
There's a character who comes up near the end. He's only had one stroke, and he's like, "My life's a bit shit, but not as shit as that guy." And then he points
Exactly.
to the dad, and
Exactly.
that's what you know.
Exactly. The film, much like golf, you want to keep your amount of strokes as low as possible.
Yes, exactly.
You know, it's,
Yeah.
golf and life really are the same in many ways. You know, there's winners, there's
Yes,
losers, and you want to keep your strokes as low as possible. And
exactly.
this film
It's close to
reflects that.
zero, and yet so few of us can really manage that. It's quite
Exactly.
Herculean.
Exactly. In golf and life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anyway, Robert goes back home and he picks up his stuff. Riot's crying and saying that she's going to kill herself and that he's no good and he's just going to leave her.
Yeah. Which he does
He's, and he's like, "Yeah,
initially.
you're right. I can send you some money. Bye."
Yeah.
Then he feels a little. Then he does the classic Oscar film freak out behind the wheel of the car.
Yeah. He says, fuck
Cinematic
shit,
classic.
fuck shit, shit, fuck shit. And then what
Yeah,
does he do?
I want to call it a cliche, although I slightly suspect that this film may have been one of the first to do it, so I can't do that.
Yeah,
But
you might be right. Let's not.
has definitely become a cliche.
It definitely has.
But then he's like,
Right.
"Okay, you can come along with me if you want," and they have a road trip, baby. And
Road trip.
the first part of the film, which is very different from the second part, both aesthetically and plot-wise.
Mm-hmm.
In terms that it's an exploration of Robert's working class life in California, and so we see the people he's around, all blue collar guys, and yet we see pretty convincingly throughout this that Robert is not happy with his life here. There's a definite sense that he feels he's better and at least more intelligent than his girlfriend Riot. I don't pick it up as much with Elton, apart from when he sort of lets his anger get the better of him and then insults him.
Yeah, I don't
But,
think he thinks he's better than Elton, but I think when he gets angry at him, he certainly uses that class power over him.
yeah, well, it's interesting
Right.
because obviously Elton doesn't know he's better off in terms of origins than him. I think it's like that, and when you're sort of born into class, that inherent feeling of superiority, that sort of unacknowledged shit exists subconsciously in so many.
Are you saying that you have that?
I'm trying to avoid saying that, although I think it's an inevitable consequence of like any kind of privilege is that you sort of are conditioned to think that you earned it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do. I do know what you mean.
Um,
I mean, I feel like I've really earned the privilege of having 10 listeners.
yes, I feel I deserve more though, and that's the real thing.
Yeah, I feel like we deserve a lot more. The amount of time and effort we put into this is just ridiculous.
Yeah, you know what? They're all trailer trash.
If you're listening to this, no, if you're not listening to this, you're trailer trash.
Yeah,
If you're listening to this, thank you, but get your friends to listen to it.
and maybe clean up nicer next time you go for spelunking.
Because you know this, you really should be wearing a tuxedo when you're listening to this because
Yeah,
what you're wearing right now. Oh, I'm not really sure it's what we're looking for from a
yeah.
listener.
I mean, look, if you're listening to this in your fucking jammies, then that's just not really acceptable.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if you're in your jammies, you
streets
can basically just fuck off.
wearing
right now.
those? Yeah, like
Yeah.
just put on some trousers at least.
Put on
That's
some
all.
trousers. Just the trousers is enough for us.
Yeah. Like bare chest. Anything bare chest is
If you could go bare chest trousers with a little bow tie on, that would be ideal for me.
Yeah, you can get one of those like clip-on bow ties and clip it onto your skin, your throat dangle. You know how like old people have that dangle in their throat.
If you're
I assume
old,
the age of this
then yeah, clip your
listeners
bow
is
tie on
about
there.
50, as nobody else will have seen most of these films. But
We're just gonna assume that but 100% of our listeners, according to Anchor, are 18 to 22 and male. Although I suspect
That's cool.
I suspect that backs up what you said earlier about maybe half of them being you.
Yeah.
Because that demographic. Although there's a lot of listeners from the US apparently,
Oh, that's nice.
So if you're American, you can fuck off. No, I'm joking. Don't fuck. Please keep listening.
We hate your country, but we do need your attention.
I don't hate your. Well, a little bit. I do hate your country a little bit.
Duncan's lying.
If you guys hadn't, left us, then I would not hate you so much.
Yeah. If you just apologize for all of your actions throughout the 20th and 21st centuries, I'm sure we can get along.
If you just rejoin the Union as a Dominion, then
Duncan comes at this from a different perspective than me.
I will be all fine. Cool.
Anyway,
should we go back to the film?
Yeah, second half of the film begins. Road trip. Jack and his girlfriend pick up a pair of enterprising lesbians who have their car is broken down.
Did you take that definition from IMDb or Wikipedia?
What, enterprising lesbians?
Yeah, there's something about there's something I don't think it was enterprising, but there is like something gay woman was like the description of one of those, and it really sounds like you've just slightly changed that for your thing. Okay, well, nice, well done. Enterprising lesbians is a good term.
Exactly. Of course, they all are very enterprising. They're all queens. Please listen to our podcast. We clearly need more diverse demographics.
If you're a lesbian and you're listening to this, we love you.
Yeah. But only platonically, of course.
Of course. Well, I mean, you can never give us back the love that we love for you in the same way, and we understand that.
That's true.
Yes. But we're just happy that you're listening.
Anyway, one of the lesbians is very quiet, but one of them is very obsessed with consumerism, which she says there's too much filth being produced in the world.
Too much dirt, was that, Jamie?
Too much dirt, too much filth. Those are the very words
you were supposed to. Do you not remember? She says it's not that dirt's not the problem; it's filth.
Oh yes,
you were supposed to repeat that when I said. This is where if I actually edited it properly, we would do that again, and I would edit it in, but I'm not going to. So you've just really fucked up that joke there.
She's really worried about all the filth in the world.
She is.
Okay. We tried our best.
Did you miss the bit where I said if I edited it properly rather than I will edit it properly?
Okay. We can just do it again now. Someone might have gone away for a bit.
Okay, if you're a lesbian, a male 18 to 22-year-old lesbian from the United States of America, welcome back from your cup of tea that you just went to get, which you probably didn't.
Which you would do as a US citizen. Yes.
What were you saying about the woman, Jamie?
She's really annoyed at all the filth in the world.
Oh, and like the dirt and stuff.
Yeah, the dirt and stuff.
No, you're. Oh fuck. Okay. Shit. Okay. She says dirt. So, okay. Right. Yeah. So they pick up these women, and and then they have a road trip, and the woman is obsessed with filth.
Yes. She says there's too much stuff being created. No one will ever get rid of it all. This consumerist excess is driving the country insane.
Which is quite an interesting, quite a early view. I mean, obviously the whole hippie movement was that kind of thing, but like specifically consumerism and like throwing stuff away, not being able to throw stuff away is quite, for me, that's quite a modern view.
You think so? I feel that's very in line with hippie philosophy, I'd say.
Is it? I don't really know. I kind of thought it was
or maybe beatnik, if we're being more specific.
Yeah, I suppose it is. But it just feels, I mean, okay.
Certainly it does. Certainly
it's very relevant.
Doesn't feel outdated or anything.
It's not outdated. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably what I'm saying more.
Yeah. So she's going to go to Alaska, which she thinks is clean.
Because she's seen some photos.
Yes, she's seen some photos. Although, as anyone who has been to Alaska will almost certainly tell you, that's not true.
Have you been to Alaska?
I haven't, but I look at the election maps. I see that is not going to be a welcoming place for a hippie.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What a hot take.
Yeah. So to do a little bit of elementary analysis, I thought that this woman was, in some ways, designed to serve as a sort of parallel to Robert, in that she clearly hates everything, and you know what? She's really unpleasant to be around.
Yeah. Much like Robert. Yeah.
Much like Robert himself, it's not nice to be around people who don't care about things.
Yeah. But she does care about things.
She doesn't really. She just kind of hates everything.
Yeah, she hates everything. That's true. Yeah.
It's a principled hate, but she still hates everything. She seems to like Robert quite a lot, because Robert, in a very famous scene that I'm definitely seen ripped off a bunch of times, negotiates with a waitress about getting toast, although she doesn't serve toast. They only do sandwiches.
Yeah.
And can I get a sandwich with all the fillings held back? And she's like, no, go away. And then he flips the table, pushes everything off, and walks away. And she's like, yeah, you're super cool. I like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Um,
then, hilariously, she says, "I like the way you negotiated to get your toast," and he says, "But I didn't even get my toast." So they kind of
mhm.
see the situation differently, I think,
Yeah, exactly.
which
I
is
think
quite
she's
nice.
very happy with the principles of it all.
Yeah, whereas he's more
Like
like,
you
"I just wanted my
did.
toast," which I think shows how their kind of hatred of everything or anger is different, because
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
she's certainly got higher principles that she appeals to, whereas Robert definitely doesn't have anything like that.
yeah,
Uh, he's not guided by any sort of personal philosophy, whereas whilst she's quite horrible, you can at least see that she is. Um, anyway, they drop them off. That's the sort of role in the film, is to just have some conversations with Robert
yeah.
and a bit of Freya where they insult her a lot, which
It
will be,
breaks up the road trip. Yeah,
yeah,
they insult
Ray.
Ray a lot. Yeah,
That's really our purpose
yeah,
for most of the rest of the film. So Robert, drops them off and they go to a motel.
yeah,
And Robert's like, oh, I forgot to mention, but Robert cheated on Ray a bunch of times with those women from the bowling alley back in his town in California. Just
yeah.
seeing, although without taking pleasure in it, which is very important. Of course, he was very sad while he did it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's really sad that he didn't take pleasure in cheating.
yeah, exactly, very sad.
Yeah,
So he stays with Ray in the motel. They also sleep together, although again he's very, very reluctant to do so.
yeah.
Not in a like rapey way, but just in a very sort of tired, can't be fucked sort of way.
Well,
Uh,
he is. Yeah, he is getting fucked. But yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what a comedian you are. Um, sorry, I need to stop saying M on this podcast. That was like my
Yeah,
resolution.
that was a big bit of dead air followed by an M,
Well, like
which
the reason there's dead air is that I'm trying to pause instead of saying M.
oh,
I feel that's better broadcasting quality. Like if it was radio,
talking
dead air is
talking
bad.
about
But on
pausing. Can
podcasts,
we pause the recording for a second? I've just got a storage space warning.
boo. Okay, fine. Uh,
Okay, we're back.
cool. Cool beans.
There's a good chance that this second half will be recorded from my phone. Uh, I now
Great.
have my phone up a lot nearer me than before, but my computer is very low in storage space for reasons that I may go into later. Um, but regardless, we were in the motel and he was having bad sex.
Yes, he can't be. He's not really that attracted to his girlfriend. It's quite clear.
Yeah,
And then he says the next day, he's like, "Okay, you just need to stay in the motel." Because, like, my family aren't going to be ready for you to come.
yeah,
So just stay until I get back. Okay, I might call you in a couple of days. Bye.
yeah. Bye.
Jack drives up to his family's house. It's on an island. I, it's a big old house. We see, you know, the film never really has like a definitive moment where it reveals its hand about Jack's upbringing, but this is the closest thing to it
Yeah,
in terms of saying, hey, this is actually a rich guy who um, fell from grace, perhaps in some way. So we see Jack introduce himself to his family. He's got a brother. His brother has a fiancée named Catherine, and he has a sister. And he has his father who's in a wheelchair and mute,
yeah,
and there's the nurse. So we have a bit of dinner time conversation, and it's implied that Jack sort of abandoned his family, as it were, and went in search of something more, something better.
yeah,
And that's why we see him, despite the fact that he is musically educated, working in oil rigs at the start of the film. They say that like the family wanted to hire some private detectives to find him, but then his brother sort of dissuaded them because he felt they should leave him be. And so that seems to be the attitude the family takes, and that they just sort of leave him alone and let him do what he wants.
yeah,
They're not entirely willingly.
yeah,
So this starts the second portion of the film at the house. Jack starts to have a connection with his brother's fiance,
Ooh,
um,
that's
who
spicy.
Exactly. She asks him to play something for him, and then he plays some Chopin.
He does.
And then she says, like, "Oh, what did that make you feel?" And he's like, "It didn't make me feel anything." Yeah. And then she gets really upset that he's not being emotionally open with her.
Yeah.
Uh, but you know what? Eventually, they do sleep together because this is a film that's got literary ambitions, and if there's one thing that people do in literature, it's sleep with each other's wives.
Yeah. It's a cool thing to do.
Yes, well, when you have a once in a lifetime connection, that can only be expressed in that way with another person. When you find someone who understands you, that's just the way it is.
Yeah. It's
Um,
just how it is.
yeah, everyone does it.
Everyone.
Actually, to be fair, in terms of their similarities, Jack, floats from place to place. He hadn't worked on the oil rig long.
Yeah.
We know that he just goes from job to job, state to state, fleeing responsibilities, which quite worryingly he does seem to imply might be children. Um,
Might be
and we
what?
find that might be children.
Oh,
Or
I see. Yeah.
so like roots. He wants to avoid having any sort of roots or responsibilities.
Yeah.
But we see that Catherine's on her third. His brother will be her third husband. So he's
Right.
gone from marriage to marriage.
Yeah.
So in that regard, they're quite similar in that they don't want to be tied down to a life.
A life of crime.
Yeah, exactly. But eventually, she sort of blows. She actually no. I should go in. Some of their brother and some of his brother and her friends arrive on the mansion, and they sort of discuss stuff in a very intellectual, faux intellectual, middle class way.
Yeah.
Um,
They
she
analyze
questions.
everything. In
Yeah,
psychologically analyze everything without really knowing
yeah,
what they're talking about. Yeah.
exactly. And then Riette comes up to the mansion without permission because she's run out of money at the hotel because Jack stayed longer than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And they really tear into her country bumpkin
Well,
way to say like,
she asks if there's a TV because she gets bored with
yeah,
their chat.
chat, and they're like, ha, no. And
No.
she asks if they catch up over dinner, and everyone's incredibly shocked, and Jack gets genuinely angry with her and has to leave the table.
Yeah, but it's important to say that he does defend her when they take the piss out of her
Yes,
about the TV, because he
yes,
himself has sort of become more like that, I guess.
yes. Well, we see during the first half of the film that Jack's very frustrated with the sort of working class people around him because he's got a certain sense of intellectual superiority. But we do also see that he gets incredibly irritated with the middle class environment as well. And it becomes very obvious why he left because he finds them all to be both incredibly up and deeply cruel
Yeah,
in their own way. And he, at no point in this film does Jack seem particularly comfortable with his surroundings
yeah,
in any way.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
he's not happy as a working class blue collar bloke. He's not happy as a middle class white collar bloke.
He really needs to be upper lower or lower middle.
Exactly. That's also the message of the film. I think if he just got on a nice job as a not particularly well paid doctor, I think he would have been
Yeah,
just right.
or an office worker. I
Exactly.
think
For
office
shame.
worker, 2 bedroom home, dog. He'd be happy,
Yeah.
But instead
Uh,
he floats between these two extremes.
yeah. I suppose to undercut the film's message. So I think the film is very much trying to sell the idea that Jack can't really be comfortable anywhere.
Yeah,
I would say that obviously, if you were in that situation, if one felt they were in that situation, then you can keep looking, and you'll eventually find people who you can get along with properly.
probably, yeah. But then if you're really grumpy, then maybe not.
But yeah, if you're a really grumpy person and you don't know what you're looking for in life, and you run away at the first sign of responsibility, then people aren't going to want to be around you because you're really unpleasant.
Yeah,
Um, and that's I think a lot of people saw this film in the day and sort of saw themselves in Jack Nicholson's character, and I feel that's a bit worrying. Sort of a retro Walter White thing, as it were.
yeah, yeah.
It's like that's me.
That's me there on the TV,
Hmm.
on the film.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So the sequence concludes with Catherine and Jack has a conversation. Jack says, "Can you leave with me?" And she says, "No." And she says, "Not just because Jack, is disrespecting his brother or anything like that. It's because you wouldn't want to be with him anyway because Jack doesn't love himself. He doesn't love anyone around him. He doesn't love his work. He doesn't love anything in the world, and therefore he can't
He's not going to love her.
be. Yeah, she no. Well, she can't be expected to love him.
Yeah.
Which is, that's the perennial advice that before you can learn to love others, you have to learn to love yourself.
It's true.
Uh,
That's deep, man.
and I'm underselling it because it's very bad about these things, but it's quite a sad moment. Because obviously, whilst it is true, it's not fun to be told it because it's not a problem you can immediately solve.
Yeah.
So Jack's sort of left defeated, being told that he's unlovable. And then the best scene of the film happens, and he takes his dad for a walk.
He takes him out in a little wheelchair for a walk.
And the dad's mute, but Jack has a final conversation with him. And he says that he wouldn't be able to have this conversation with his dad if he was able to talk
If
back.
you could talk, we wouldn't be talking, he says.
But he tries his very best to open up his heart about how he can't face responsibility, how he's not happy anywhere, how he's never good at piano, but he's not good at anything else in his life.
Yeah.
He just wishes he had a place to belong. But he can't do it, which is really sad. He can't articulate his feelings properly at all. It's a complete jumbled up mess.
Yeah.
And he ends up just so desperate to articulate, I think, really his loneliness more than anything else.
Yeah.
He is more than anything a deeply, deeply lonely man. And he ends up just breaking down crying instead of being able to talk at all.
Well, that's deep, man.
It's very deep and emotionally affecting,
It is.
Sad.
And then what happens?
Well, then he and Rhea leave the house. They've stayed their time,
Yeah.
And then on the way back, they seem to be getting along, though obviously, as ever, it seems a bit strained on Robert's behalf. But they stop at the gas
A little bit strained.
and she goes into the cafe. She takes his wallet with him because she doesn't have any money of her own. And he goes to the bathroom to wash up, and then he just sort of looks at himself. And then he goes up to a random truck driver, and he's like, "Hey, can I just travel with you from now on?" And the truck driver's like, "Okay, mate, just whatever suits you." And then he drives off, never to see any of these people ever again.
Yeah.
So basically, one last time, he completely abandons his responsibilities, he completely abandons his life. He moves on in search of something new, but without any idea of what he's actually searching for. He is a completely unchanged person by the events of the film. Or at the very least, someone who's tried to change and failed would perhaps be more accurate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
True. What did you think of the film?
I really liked it, genuinely.
Good.
It seems it's quite conventional, I suppose, probably because it's more of a pioneer than anything else in terms of like, this is a film about a character who's got this really flawed character. We're going to follow him for a bit, and then he's going to, not learn his lesson at the end, and there'll be a sort of existential but tragic ending.
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot, but generally in slightly more modern cinema, so that's why I'm giving it some credit. But what I really like about the film is that it doesn't really play its hand until quite far in.
Yeah, I was
really
thinking that.
Very slow to reveal what it's about. It's very slow to reveal what its characters are about. It doesn't expose it and doesn't really foreshadow either.
Mm-hmm.
It actually works very well to its credit.
Mm-hmm.
Like the small hint, there's obviously hints throughout the first half about Jack's upbringing, but there's things that would only make sense in retrospect, I think.
Like the fact that he's really good at piano when he gets on the truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you might go, that's a bit weird, but you wouldn't give it much thought. But then when you get to the part later, it's like, yeah, he grew up in his household about piano players. It's like, yeah.
It's like, yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it's nice that it doesn't, explain itself to you too quickly. You're sort of given time to absorb everything. Everything's sort of revealed at its own pace.
Yeah,
There's
nice.
really no exposition in the film at all. I think that works as a watch. I don't know if you'd necessarily get away with that today.
I don't know. Yeah, when I watched it, I kind of thought there wasn't much going on, and I didn't really have anything to say. But then on reflection, I was like, actually, it was pretty good, and it had a lot to say. But I think it's because it doesn't have that like foreshadowing or, it obviously has a plot, but it's not got like really major plot points. It's just kind of this stuff happening. But it actually, on reflection, works really well, I think.
It's definitely more like some stuff happens to a character rather than a plot.
And you find out about the character as it goes based on what's happening to him. He doesn't really push the plot forward much. I guess even when he tries to, he kind of isn't able to. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm a fan of more grounded character studies in terms of my entertainment. I like them.
Good.
I suppose the issue with this film is that it's maybe not the most unique character in the world, although I think this is
No.
definitely one of the better articulations I've seen of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
Mm.
it's definitely not unique, but I mean, it could be that it's the first or one of the first of looking at this kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things where like I give it benefit of the doubt, and also just like even if you're telling a story that's been told before, as long as you do it really well in an interesting way, which I would say this film does do on both counts,
Then it's fine.
then it's worthwhile. Yeah.
Who are we to judge?
That's what I was going for.
Good. Um, what else happens? What else have I got written down here to talk about? Um, there's definitely one or two things, but I'm just looking through the old notaroos here, and there's nothing
Well,
jumping out at
what
me.
fool you are to look through your notes.
But it's fine. I'm sure this is interesting listening for everyone.
Yeah, you're really good at this.
Oh, there's a
So
cool
be
transition
respectful.
in it where he like sits down in a chair, and then it kind of
Mm-hmm.
he sits down in a chair at night time, and it like the camera kind of pulls around him, and then it's daytime, and that was kind of
Oh
cool.
yeah, that was cool.
And there's another nice camera bit when he's like playing the piano for Catherine, and it goes around all his family's portraits, and it's like
Oh yeah,
paints
that is
it. That
actually a
was
really nice
nice.
sequence.
Yeah, there were a
Yeah.
few nice bits. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I
It's a
think
pretty
that's
nice looking film overall. There's
yeah.
nothing too
There's
super
nothing
crazy,
incredible,
but, you know.
but also nothing like not
Yeah,
good. Yeah, it was pretty nice. I don't know who
very
shot it. I
competent.
didn't look. Uh,
Yeah.
the
I suppose I'm.
facial hair in the film, as often in the films that we talked about, was pretty good. He had some
Yeah,
nice sideburns. There were a few good moustaches and stuff in the
this
film.
film doesn't actually feel particularly dated. I'd say as an
No,
observation.
no, I would agree.
Outside of, like, maybe the sequence at the bowling alley, I would. I'm not sure I'd watch it and go, "Oh, this is the '70s."
Yeah,
Yeah, which I know is a point to its credit. It's good to be timeless, I suppose.
although I'm looking at pictures of it now, he does wear a rather large turtleneck in the diner scene, which is, I suppose, quite.
Yeah, but you know,
But yeah,
we all love a
I
good
definitely know
turtleneck.
what you mean. It overall, it's not very dated. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's nice.
Oh, that's
Oh,
good.
I've just seen a nice poster. I'll tell you what, the Criterion Collection poster for this film is very nice.
Oh,
It's
really?
got
Let me see.
yeah, give it a look. If you're
Yeah.
listening along at home, Google Five Easy PC's Criterion Collection, and you'll see a
Right.
nice poster.
Let's see. Ooh, is this the one
See
on
it?
the back on the truck?
Yeah, he's on the truck, and then there's like piano. There's 5 piano
That's
pieces,
very
and then
nice.
one going through it. I wonder what
Yeah.
that's meant to represent.
And it's done as a sort of tally. You see?
I'm sure over at the Criterion Collection they put a lot of thought into that design.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a nice poster.
Yeah.
For a nice film, I would happily recommend to anyone. I think.
Are you recommending it? What are you giving it?
Yes. I'm gonna give it a buy, baby.
Whoa, a buy. I'm
Yes.
torn here. I was before we started recording. I was going to give it a watch if it's on, but I'm
Ooh,
leaning
that's quite
towards
low down.
watch. Um, I'm not going to say buy. Uh,
Really?
I don't think so, but I'm going to say watch. I'm
I
going to say
thought.
watch. Watch this film.
Yeah, that's interesting, actually. What made you cooler on it? Do you think?
Um, I'm not sure if it grabbed my attention fully the whole time. Um,
Hmm.
I
Were you a bit
feel
bored during the first half? You were saying.
I don't know if I was bored. I was just I found myself wondering where it was going, but not wondering where it was going in a good way. Just kind of like, oh, what? The second half, you definitely start to. I know the design of the film is that the second half kind of reveals stuff in the first half and explains things and shows this and that. But I just kind of felt like when you're sitting watching it in the first half, you're kind of saying to yourself, "Is this whole film just going to be him going back and forth from like I hate my wife to the oil rigs?" Because
Yeah.
I don't think I
I
could
would have
watch it if it
been.
does, and then it does get more interesting. But
Yeah. I think
yeah,
I would have been down for the film as it was presented in the first half. I definitely wouldn't have liked it as much, but I was engaged enough
right,
during the first half of the like relationship drama and like his clear dissatisfaction with the people around him.
interesting. I just felt like it was a bit too much, and
Although definitely,
I think it's I'm glad that they moved him somewhere else, because I couldn't have just put up with him being a dick to everyone for the whole film in the same scenario. Whereas I
I
can
suppose
just
that's
about put
true.
up with him being a dick for the whole film in various scenarios. But that maybe
Hmm.
that's just me.
Well, I think in the second half he's much. I think possibly just because he doesn't see himself as better as the people around him in the second half, he's much less of an asshole to
Yeah,
the
he is
people
definitely. Yeah, there's
around.
definitely a power thing where he feels like he's having a lot of power when he's on the rigs and stuff, and then you kind of see that removed a bit. Yeah, definitely,
Hmm. Uh,
definitely. All right, is that done the film?
yeah, I think so. I guess I don't have much else to say. I think it's a very nice tale. It's a very good character study about a decently interesting person.
Nice.
I think in terms of a feeling of disenfranchisement from society, which not to belabor the point, is something we have again seen in this film. I keep seeing it time and time again in all these films. Is this theme of not knowing where you fit in society?
Wow, it's like
Usually, it's
Joker.
articulated. No.
It's like Joker 2019.
Usually, it's articulated as an "Are you a hippie or are you an office worker man?" This
Yeah,
time, it's is it the working man's life or a middle class life for you? But there's still this feeling of disenfranchisement,
yeah,
um, which is interesting. It's clearly what people were feeling in the cultural moment, which I
possibly.
suppose makes sense when what you're supposed to be doing culturally is fighting in a war that you don't support or being a racist.
The war is not in the film at all.
No,
I wonder if
I don't.
that's part of the sort of timelessness that they were going for.
Yeah, there's
Presumably.
not much reference to specific events. But I
Yeah,
think that does kind of work because the film's more about a feeling
it
than any
is.
particular event.
Musically wise, there's a lot of country music in it, which I would assume is from the time.
Yeah,
Obviously, the
yeah,
classical music is
music's
not,
a
but
very recurring motif,
yeah,
particularly in the first half, where um, in recontextualizing it, it's clear that it's because Robert pays special attention to music because it's such an important part of his life.
yeah.
But like in the first half, there's a lot of references to music. He gets quite annoyed at Elton's ukulele playing. He pays a lot of attention to an ad for a harmonica, for example. It's not just piano; it's music in general.
Yeah,
Which, if something's going to remind you of your origins, is quite a bad pick because obviously music's quite omnipresent in the world.
it is rather omnipresent in the old world, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, I like it. I'm not quite finished absorbing it yet.
Oh,
Talking about it with you, I feel has revealed certain layers of it to me.
wow.
Um, but yeah,
Good.
I really stuck with it. I think it's one of the better films we've looked at.
Oh, good. Glad to hear it.
Well, maybe that just means I'm a mainstream normie cuck because obviously that's what the Academy thought as well.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe
usually
you are just
to
a
agree with
mainstream
them.
normie cock. It is entirely possible that is the case.
Hmm.
Um, cool. What else have you been watching, playing, reading, doing?
This week I have watched two films. One of them was Angels and Demons,
Right.
based on the novel written by Dan Brown. It's terrible.
Cool.
Uh, Ewan McGregor plays a priest who goes in a helicopter and jumps away from an exploding antimatter bomb,
Oh,
and then shoots down, and it's very cool.
I feel like have I
The
seen
rest of the
this?
film is very bad and funny.
I might have seen this, but
It's the
maybe not.
sequel to the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah, no, I know that. I don't actually. I don't know if I
Yeah.
have. I don't know if I've even seen Da Vinci. I think I've seen bits of it. Um,
Hmm.
but I
I
don't
think it's
think I
one of
have
those things that
seen.
everyone's sort of vaguely aware of.
Yeah, I don't know if I've actually seen them. Seen them, but yeah.
Other than that, I rewatched Doctor Strangelove recently.
Oh, I want to rewatch it as well. It's such a good film.
Yeah, not to be too controversial, but that's a really fantastic film.
Yeah, yeah. I want to watch it. I've only seen it the once, and I
Yeah, I
loved
really
it.
enjoyed it a lot more than I did the last time I saw it.
Mm,
I last saw it about 3 years ago, and I feel I was able to
me too,
appreciate it
probably.
aesthetically a lot more than I was previously. So I'm quite keen to watch some other Kubrick stuff. I really want to see Space Odyssey now that I own a poster
Oh,
for it.
you need to
Uh,
see that, man. You
just I
need
don't
to
have a
see
very
that.
big, I don't have a very big screen, so I can either watch it on a small TV or on my laptop. And I feel
Ah,
both of those an
both of those are
insult.
not good options. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you should wait, but you should definitely see it. What
Mhm.
what other Kubrick have you seen or not seen?
I think just The Shining.
You've only seen.
Um,
You should watch Clockwork Orange as well. Um,
oh yeah, no, I
I
haven't
wouldn't.
seen
I
it.
can't recommend Spartacus. It's very long. It's a
Oh,
good
I think
film, but it's one of those films that's sort of long, and you just kind of know that
a
it's
bit
long.
dull.
It's not like
Yeah.
yeah. It's not a bad film. It's not a boring film, but it's not so. It's not. It's not. It's not boring enough to keep you going.
justify its
Really,
existence.
yeah. Oh, Full Metal Jacket is really good as well.
Oh yeah, I remember you raving about that when you
I've
first said that.
ranted and raved about that one already.
Yeah.
Oh, but there's still a few I've not seen. I've not seen Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh, that's supposed to be an acquired taste, but I know some
That's
people who really like
wait.
it.
That's from 1999. Oh, that must be his last film
Yeah,
then.
that's his last film. A lot of people
Ah.
think it's shit, but there's like a very passionate group of fans who like it more than the
And
others.
was there a huge gap between that and? Because I'm looking at his filmography here, and I see 1987 Full Metal Jacket, and then I see Eyes Wide Shut as the next one. Was
Guess
there a
so.
big gap? Interesting.
I guess Tom Cruise just moved him that much.
I guess so. Yeah, I was a bit confused how Tom Cruise was in it in a Kubrick film, but anyway, Lolita I want to see as well. And Paths of
The
Glory, Barry Lyndon.
I'm
Yeah,
not
I
sure.
need to watch all of these because I really
I'm not
enjoy
sure
the ones I've
if
seen.
remake's the right term, but like a different adaptation of that is on movie right now. I thought it was the Kubrick version. I was a bit
Of
disappointed.
Lolita.
Yeah,
Interesting. I want to see Barry
it's the
Lyndon
version
as
with
well. I feel like
German
that.
irons.
I've seen little bits of Barry Lyndon and it looks very
Hmm.
interesting.
Right.
Like a sort of precursor to The Favourite and that kind of thing, like this costume drama that's got a bit of a different thing about it.
Huh, that's cool.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I watched The Truman Show the other night.
Oh yeah, I watched that pretty recently as
Yeah,
well.
we both watched it recently. It was good.
Yeah, I didn't. I wasn't. The thing about the Truman Show is that I think a lot about like the better version of that film that I feel could have existed.
Yeah, that's
Like,
true. It could have been deeper.
what I wanted from it is that I really wish there was more exploration of how like the actors felt about what they were doing, which is kind of glossed over. I guess sort of for the purpose of a joke and also just to focus more on Truman.
Yeah,
But like I thought that was really interesting, and it's only ever really hinted at.
yeah. I mean, you see how certain ones feel about it in terms of like
Yeah,
the
like
movement
his
of frame
wife
and stuff.
gets a decent amount of like you
Yeah,
know focus, but like his best friend, for example, like you only get the barest hints. And what would it be like if you'd spent your entire life like
yeah. I feel like
lying
I
to
was
someone like that?
expecting more from the best friend because
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
or like
It was just a really
it,
interesting idea because it feels like one of those films that you wouldn't think would exist just because it's so insane and like random and whatever. And I think it was interesting to watch it.
I don't know, because I feel you
That
can
makes sense.
sell it on the premise alone quite easily, and I'm sure that's
Yeah.
why it got made.
Well,
And like
definitely,
I
but
just
just like
feel it's
the like
up.
giant dome that takes up like half the country and all that kind of stuff, just like insane. But you kind of works. You kind of just watch it and
Yeah,
accept it.
I like the very very end of the film, as I'm sure everyone does, because it's very iconic.
Yeah.
I just feel you could have fit other stuff in it. I don't like the romance very much. I feel the romance is a bit weird. I feel it
Don't
could have been
agree.
explored in a way. Maybe if it was like more parasocial, like she'd sort of fall in love with watching him on TV, and then like you can sort of focus on how this really weird one-sided relationship.
Yeah.
And the film really does that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that
I
would
feel
maybe that would be too weird for what they wanted.
there are dozens of more interesting versions of that film, and I feel it's sort of. And maybe that's
Interesting.
just I don't actually find Truman to be the most interesting character in the story. Once he realizes that something's up, that's kind of his
Kind of just goes for it. Yeah.
outlived his usefulness until he makes his final decision whether he wants to,
Yeah.
stick with the world he knows or not.
True. I
So
feel like I was expecting
in my
more.
version of the film, I would want it to be like the first half hour set on Truman, and then he discovers something's up. Then like the rest is focusing on the world around him.
Yeah. Or I would even like to
His
see
final
how
decision.
he like works out in society. Because I was
Yeah,
kind of expecting that. I don't. Maybe that would ruin the whole thing, but I just think that would be more interesting than just seeing him trying to escape.
I mean, that would be interesting. I suppose there's a value in ambiguity.
There is, but like the whole film being about him escaping, it just feels a bit.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting note to strike. It's just there's other interesting avenues to explore, and it doesn't.
True.
Which I suppose is a more focused vision, but
I also
it's also not a
watched.
very funny film in a weird way.
No, that's true.
I feel there are more jokes they could have made. They didn't really get much other than the product placement.
The product placement was very good, but yeah.
Yeah.
I also watched The Passion of Joan of Arc.
Oh, I've not seen that.
It was really the acting is really good. It's famous for having like great acting, and it's also got no like long shots or wide shots. Everything's either close up or medium close up, which is really interesting. Uh,
What is what's like the point of it?
just it's about like the human emotion, because it's a
Ah.
silent film, but and it
Oh,
really
cool. Is
pushes.
this on? This wasn't on the BFI thing, was it?
Yeah, it was on BFI. It's from
Ah.
1928, and it really
Ah.
pushes the like actors, to their limit, and like you really
Mm.
have to see the emotions. It's good. It was really dull. I mean, I watched it, but after after the like 10th time that you see the close up of Joan of Arc crying, it does get pretty dull. But I watched it anyway, and in a lot of
Fair.
ways, it was very very impressive. So,
Presumably, if it was a silent film, it wasn't too long.
an hour and a half,
Okay, well,
or not quite an hour and a half, but almost close to an hour and a
it's
half.
less than normal. Haha.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
cool. Any other BFI things you've watched? Anything I've seen?
Oh, I watched a bunch,
Have you watched
but I
Ghost
can't
in the Shell
even.
yet?
Have I watched what yet?
Ghost in the Shell yet?
I can't. I've lost it. I've lost the subscription now.
Ah, no.
I know.
Do the Blu-ray if we lived in the same city.
That's a shame. We don't.
Mhm.
What did I watch? Passion of Joan of Arc. Oh, I've deleted the ones that I watched. I must have put them on my IMDb, but I can't see it. I watched a few. They were. It was yeah. They were good. I wanted to watch Napoleon, which is like 5.5 hours long, from
Oh,
1927, but I couldn't be bothered in the time I had
I
until it
don't blame you at
expired.
all.
In the time I had until it expired, I could not be bothered. I did not have that long. But one day
Yeah.
I'll watch it definitely, because it's so iconic. And other than that, the reason that my storage space is running out, which is fast becoming a problem, is because I downloaded Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020,
You
Jamie.
sure did.
Do you know how
Mm-hmm.
long it took me? 23 hours to download it.
Yeah.
I downloaded it on Steam, and it took like half an hour, and I was like, well, that doesn't seem right because I've heard it had a huge download. And then once you open it up on Steam, that's when it actually downloads all the stuff, and it took 23 hours, and I now have essentially no storage space on my computer. So I'm gonna need to work that one out. I had to put
Yeah.
half the game on external hard drive as well because it was so big. Anyway, that
Yeah.
was fun.
You have no one to blame but yourself.
I know, but it's quite a fun game. It's really
Mm.
it's fun, but also it like when you're flying a plane, you're just going in a straight line and you're looking at clouds and stuff. And I feel like if I think of other simulator games I play, like Euro Truck Simulator, it's all about like driving in the motorway is the most boring bit, and even that involves changing lanes and like driving and stuff. Whereas the flight sim just feels really like but then it's also
Yeah.
fun to like fly around places and stuff. That's all cool. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It seems like a lot of the joy people get out of that game is just looking at the ground and going, "Oh yeah, that's where I live."
Well, that's basically the point of the
That's,
game, and it is
yeah.
very cool. My graphics settings are not high enough to really, really fully appreciate it, but they are high enough
Mm.
to see it and be like, "That's cool." I flew over my house and stuff like that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, also, I've been playing Madden 21, and it is really
Uh-huh.
glitchy, and I think it's been out for a while. Uh, they're doing a free weekend this weekend on like all platforms, and it's just really glitchy. So I don't think I'm gonna buy it. I've bought Madden every year for the last like 6 years, but I don't think I'm gonna get it.
Fair.
But I might
Don't
get it
support
as well.
practices you don't like, I suppose.
What?
So don't support, shit you don't like.
Yeah, well,
In terms
it's EA, and they've just put out the same game again and again, and then this one seems to not only be the same game but also be very glitchy.
not work. Yeah.
Um, but I guess I mean, it's a free play weekend, so I'll play it and a bit more and see. But yeah, yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Cool.
Shall we call it a podcast?
Yep. Hope you enjoyed listening, folks.
Thanks,
Bye
everyone.
bye.
Bye.
We love you.
Especially if you're a lesbian.
Yes, especially. Please watch our show and then share it with all your other female friends.
That's the saddest thing I've heard. That's the saddest thing I've heard you say in my life. Okay, bye everyone. Thank you.
Bye.